now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. I am frozen, or can you guys hear me? Nope, there we go. All right, I'm still alive. Hey everybody, welcome. Today is episode 365. It is the 10th of November 2021, and this is what I get for trying to make a post while we're getting started. But while Bradley's taking care of some of the tech stuff, wanted to say hello to everybody. Give us a shout out if you're watching. Let us know how you're doing. If you got any questions, now is a good time to punch those in there. And then first of all, let's say hello to everybody before we jump into questions. And I think we got a couple quick announcements too, but we're going to keep them pretty short. So Chris, how are you doing today?
Feeling super good here. Happy. What else? Had an exciting week on the development end. So a couple projects are coming along. So excited on those. So yeah, stay tuned.
Awesome. Bradley, are you still doing? You're back with us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I was trying to beat Chris before he finished talking.
So I'm a little longer. Yeah.
All right.
A bit overwhelmed with work right now, but that's a good thing, I guess. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm working on some training for some stuff we got going on in a couple of weeks, which I don't know if you're going to talk about that today or not, Adam, but so.
Yeah, go ahead. Spill the beans.
Well, for Black Friday, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing something slightly different to go against the grain, because everybody sells a bunch of shit on Black Friday to Cyber Monday. And, we've done that as well for the last several years. But we're going to go against the grain this time and just give away do some free training, essentially, just to get, to just do something different. So we're going to drop some value bombs for our kind of promotion over the course of a few days. And I'm working on some specific training for that right now. So be on the lookout for that, guys. I think it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be a special stuffing for Thanksgiving then.
There we go. Let me see. Yeah, I wanted to say too, me and Bradley are kind of might be talking about overlapping areas, but different. I'm going to be touching on some stuff using the AI tools we talk about, right? You've heard everyone talk about them or you've used them yourself. But I don't know about you guys, unless you have a real process for something. I'm guilty of this. I love screwing around with these tools. I'll go in and try stuff and do this and do that. But I realized I've been paying for one for a couple months and I was like, shit, I'm not actually using this in a process. So I went back and looked at what I could be using it, started using it in some different areas. This was months ago. And then one of the areas I've done recently was for some content repurposing, and that has gone extremely well. So my process is a little bit backwards for most people. Most people are trying to generate longer content. I'm actually trying to shrink content down and make it more digestible. And I've had some good success with that. So looking forward to sharing that with everyone.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's very complimentary to what I'm going to be sharing. Mine is for SEO purposes. Yours is for more marketing purposes. Together, they both, complement each other very, very well. So I think it'll be really good.
All right. I was just typing this on the page of one of the announcements I want to let people know about. If you weren't able to make it to POFU Live 2021, we're sad. We would have liked to have had you, but we get it. Not everybody can join live, whether it's the timing, just things didn't line up, whatever, the stars weren't in alignment in the sky. But we do have the recordings ready. So you can't, of course, interact with the speakers. You can't get the full experience, but it's a hell of a lot of value, a lot to learn, a lot of actionable content that you can take away from it. You can access the recordings. If you're watching live, you can see the link right there. Basically, go to POFU Live/POFU-recordings-2021-A1. Go there. You can get access to the recordings and instantly start watching those. Really recommend you pick those up. It's a killer deal. We really encourage people to join us live, but it's like Hump Day Hangouts. We get it. You can't always be there live, but if you can, you should definitely do it. This is definitely the next best thing. And after the fact, great to review. Everyone who does come to POFU Live, of course, gets access to the recordings for free as part of their ticket. Now, while I try to clear up my head from this cold I'm working on, also wanted to say really quick, if you haven't gotten your GMB process checklist, because this is a question we get a lot, hey, what should I be doing with the GMB? Where should I start? What should I do next? Grab it at gmbprocess.com. All right. This is Bradley's checklist step-by-step that he put together. And you should definitely grab it. Bradley, also, yeah, I'll bounce it back to you real quick. You want to tell everyone about the replay you just posted?
Yeah, we had a webinar with Hurt Magnus, formerly Project Supremacy, but it's now called Zagio, him and Todd Spears on Monday. And it's a great, great app. I started using it, I think back in August. And it's really interesting. I bought it for mainly as kind of like a WordPress management app. It's a plugin, but it also has a cloud-based app and they communicate with each other. So I originally bought it so that I could use it to clone sites very, very quickly and manage all my sites and things like that. Because I've got a lot of organic stuff now too. I had for years really just focused on GMB stuff, but over the last 6 or 8 months now, I've built up a lot of organic sites as well. And so I bought Zagio for that specific reason, but turned out there's so many functions and tools in there that you can eliminate a lot of other plugins or even third-party subscriptions. And with this tool, which has been great because you can consolidate down and reduce your overall monthly expenditures, as well as it's got this keyword, he calls it keyword cloud optimization, but it's got this keyword tool kind of built into the app and the plugin that does some really amazing things like you can audit competitor sites and figure out what keywords their pages are ranking for. And you can rearrange stuff and all that. And it also has competition metrics built right in. So, and not like Google Ads keyword planner competition metrics, which are not SEO metrics at all, but it does like all in title, phrase match, in URL competition metrics. So you can see who you're truly competing against for any particular keyword or search phrase. And I have found, believe it or not, I've been doing tree service SEO or SEO for tree service contractors for, almost a decade now. And I found some keywords in there, like using that tool, Zagio, that are very low competition that I never knew that before. And so I've actually started building a whole nother organic project out specifically, and it's a multi-site organic project specifically targeting those keywords that I discovered that have very low competition in the tree service industry, but highly valuable keywords with very low competition. So anyways, I just think it's a really, really great app. It's very inexpensive if you buy it, especially through our deal through the replay while the special is still available. You get a discount and it's very inexpensive, guys. I would highly encourage you to check out the webinar and pick it up if you're doing any sort of client management or you've got a bunch of your own lead gen stuff. It's a very powerful tool. It's very inexpensive, and I'm using it in my own business, and I think it's great, or else we wouldn't have brought it to you to begin with. So check it out.
Awesome. All right, one last one for me before we jump into questions here. If you're ready to take your digital marketing and results to the next level, that sounds like you. If you want an awesome peer group, you want a literal mastermind, then our mastermind might be the place for you. If you want to find out more about that, you can find it at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Aaron just said he got in. Aaron was the winner of our 7-year anniversary show. He got into the mastermind for 3 months. So happy to have you, man. And looking forward to seeing some more people joining. If it's a good fit for you, we're definitely looking for people who can take what we teach, what we show, and take action and put it to use. So if you're an agency owner, you're a consultant, or if you're a brick and mortar person, you want to put this stuff to work or have someone on your team put it to work for you, then the mastermind is definitely the place for you.
Or if you're into building lead gen assets.
Yeah.
If your business is lead gen, because that's a big part of my business too. So, also, Aaron, don't forget to schedule your onboarding call with me so that you get 30 minutes on anytime you join the mastermind. Somebody joins the mastermind, you get 30-minute call with me. I enjoy those onboarding calls because it gives me a chance to get to know you. Plus, it reveals, areas of weakness in people's businesses. So it helps me to produce training around that. So again, I encourage you to make sure you schedule that call with me. I look forward to those. So I'm looking forward to seeing you as well, Aaron. All right. Okay. Can we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Whoops, wrong button. Okay. You guys are seeing my screen all right, right?
Yep.
All right. So it looks like Hugh goes first. He says, I have a service page on my gsite, which has the corresponding page linked to and embedded on the money site. Okay. I have built several layers of Web 2 links at it and the entire gsite to diversify anchors, which has helped, but stuck on page 2 for months. I'm thinking of sending some PBN links at the energy site page, but not sure which anchors would be best. Would you go with a URL or the primary keyword as the anchor? The page already has tons of generic anchors from all the tiered link building. Yeah, that's a great question, Hugo. So, I teach in the mastermind a very specific tier 2 link building strategy that works very, very well. And I'll talk about it on a high level, conceptually here, so that you can get an idea. But if you have your money site connected to Search Console, what I recommend is for the particular page that you're having trouble ranking, right, is to go into Search Console, go to the performance report and click on pages, the tab underneath the graph. There's different tabs there, queries, pages, devices, I think is another one. Anyways, click on pages, then click on the URL for the page that you want to push from page 2 on to page 1. And once you click on that URL under pages, it's going to only show you the data that one page has, like for all the data for that one specific page. So then once you click that URL, then you click the queries tab. And now all of those queries are the queries that the page has been given an impression for in Google search. Okay, those search phrases there, Google had determined that page was relevant in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter where it's ranking, right? I've seen if you check the box in Search Console to show the average position, so the average ranking position, you'll see that sometimes the page will be given an impression for a search query that maybe it was in position 218. That's how high I've seen it go. Like seriously, I've seen if you check the average positions box, I've seen it track all the way up to into the 200s. So like page 22 or page 23 in the search results. So what I'm saying is those queries were Google thought that page was relevant to that query at some level, even if it wasn't optimized for it, which is the reason why it might be ranked the ranking may be really poor for that keyword or that search phrase. But my point is, if you sort by impressions, now you'll start seeing which search phrases are getting the most search volume. And then what I do is export that keyword search query report from Search Console as a Google sheet typically, but you can export it as a CSV or an Excel file, that sort of thing. And then what I do is once I export it as a G sheet, a Google sheet, then I go through and I sort by impressions, and then I go in and I just manually go through line by line or row by row and eliminate any search queries that weren't really relevant for my business. Google might have thought they were for whatever reason, but if they're not truly relevant, then I go ahead and eliminate those from the list. But when you're done with that, and I usually set a threshold, by the way, like I might look at the last 6 months of data for Search Console. I usually don't go beyond that because I want keywords that are relevant recently, or search queries that are relevant recently. So I might go 6 months back. And then what I'll do is I'll set the impression count, like I'll set a threshold, depending on what industry you're in. For me, it might be, if the search query got less than 100 impressions over the last 6 months, then I don't even add those to the anchor text list that I'm going to be using as anchors for link building, right? But what I'm getting at is with the tier 2, with the search query report, once you've extracted it or exported it, then you've cleaned out all the non-relevant terms and you've set whatever threshold it is, and you just look at your own data and determine what threshold you want, right? Like for me, it might be 100 if it's 100 less than 100 impressions in 6 months, then I won't use it. It depends on the project. Sometimes it's a project with higher thresholds. But whatever, once I'm done, now I've got a very clean list of very relevant search queries that Google users have actually typed in the Google search bar, right? So those are in my opinion, the best keywords to use as tier 2 links or anchor text for links, because they're 100% relevant and it's what people are actually searching for. See, that's the difference between the Google Keyword Planner, the Google Ads Keyword Planner, and Search Console data. The metrics are so far off because Google Keyword Planner the Google Ads Keyword Planner is a Google Ads keyword tool, right? So it's completely different. You will see search queries in Search Console that have high impressions, but have zero search volume in the Google Ads Keyword Planner. Does that make sense? So it goes to show you that they're two different animals entirely. And so I only use the Google Ads Keyword Planner as a way to get like the kind of search queries that people are bidding on, competitors are bidding on for Google Ads, and it gives me an indication of the popularity of, and search volume of those keywords, but it is not organic search keywords that are shown in the Google Ads keyword planner. So whenever I'm looking for tier 2 link building anchor text, I like to go straight to the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? Go straight to the source, go to Google Search Console, extract the search queries for the particular URL that I'm trying to push, eliminate any non-relevant terms. Then I set some particular threshold. So if it's a low impression count, I'm not going to add that to the list because it doesn't get enough search impressions for it to be valuable, in my opinion. And that threshold is going to vary depending on project. And then what I'm left with is a really, really, really good list of anchor text to use at tier 2, right? So tier 2 links building to your tier 1 assets. So that's what I would recommend. As far as using like PBN links and stuff, guys, I've been doing buying a lot of links from Legit recently. I've got Legit open here in 2 different tabs right here, actually, for PBN links. And I like to do that specifically, especially with these types of campaigns that I just mentioned for tier 2 link building, because I can get less volume of links because I typically don't have a really big keyword set. Once I do the process that I just mentioned, I usually have a very targeted set of anchor text, and I want to have higher powered links to push that kind of anchor text relevancy through to my tier 1 assets and ultimately to my money site, right? Does that make sense? So yes, I think what you're, talking about building links to the gsite pages, I totally agree. That's what you should be doing. And just, I'll give you a, let's see if I got that open. Yeah. So here's just very quickly, this is a similar process that I'm going to be talking about for the Black Friday thing. And that's about all I'm going to show you guys of that right there. But there, the gsite is one of the most powerful things that the GMB website, if it's a GMB project or if it's a local project, has a Google My Business associated with it. You can mirror your kind of structure from your silo, from your money site. Think about it this way. If you have the page that you're talking about on your money site that you're trying to push, if it's long form content, you could have jump links, like a table of contents to, each one of the H2 tags on that content. And now you could create a GMB post silo if the GMB is attached to the project that links to the jump links of each one of the H2 headings on that long form page, right? And now you could mirror that into the gsite. So you create sub pages from the mirrored location page on the gsite. So you create sub pages, right? So like inner pages or child pages of the primary page. And then you can embed the GMB post into there, right? And link back to the GMB post URL as well. So there's just a number of things that you can do with that. And all of those, now you got GMB post URLs as well as gsite URLs, right? That you could as your target link list, that now you've got all of your tier 2 anchor texts from Search Console. So those are the exact search queries that is relevant to the page that you're trying to push. So those are what I like to do. And I found it works really, really well. And so that's what I would do. And again, there's using spam links and bulk links, guys, there's definitely a place for that. But what I've found over the last 6 months, I've been doing a ton of testing on organic stuff, is that I get faster results using higher powered links, less quantity, more power, right? And I like, the spam links, I think, are like, once you've achieved the result that you desire from the process that I just described, then the spam links or the bulk links is kind of how you maintain that, right? Because you can power up these structures that I was just describing with spam links, and that'll keep it kind of ranked. But with spam links and bulk links, it takes a while for them to get crawled. A lot of them won't even index, but it takes a while to get them crawled. So it can take weeks to get a link building campaign when you're doing bulk tiered links for them to be crawled, like weeks and weeks for them to be crawled. So you don't see an immediate response from bulk links like you do from higher powered, less quantity, but higher powered PBN links, right? Which again, I don't recommend building PBN links directly to your money site, guys, but that's why you have tier 1 entity assets that you build, because you can, again, mirror all of your site structure and your content into your tier 1 entity assets, and then use those as link targets or link building targets using the method that I just mentioned with Search Console search queries extracted for that particular URL that you're trying to promote, right? And then you build higher powered links to your tier 1 assets to promote that money site URL. And then from there, like I said, once you get the desired result, you can always maintain that with bulk links over time. if that makes sense. So that's kind of just how I've restructured my own process, so that when I'm testing things, I can get to the results faster, right? I can determine if anything that I'm testing is working or not a lot faster if I'm using PBN links. And then once I've determined, oh yeah, this is working, this structure, this process, whatever, now I know that I can maintain it, or I can boost it with bulk links, but I just understanding that it's going to take longer to see the result from bulk links, if that makes sense. So anyways, again, that was kind of a conceptual, like high level overview of the process, but if you want full training on all of that, guys, that's what the mastermind is for, right? To come join the mastermind, and I go into great detail and show actual live examples of stuff and rank reports and everything else to show you how these structures work, right? It's a great question though. Gracias says, how do I get Google to show featured snippets for my page? Structured data, schema, right? You have to mark your content up with structured data. It has to be validated, right? It has to be proper markup. And then from there, you can go to the Google rich results test, right? The rich results test, and you can test your URL, and it will tell you if a rich snippet or rich result can be produced based upon your markup, right? So all you do again is mark up your content with schema, validate it using the structured data testing tool or the schema markup validator. And then once you validated it, go check the URL in the rich results test, and it will tell you if it will is eligible to produce a rich result. Okay, but that's how you do it, is with schema. All right, the lone wolf says, when it comes to link building to the drive stack and other properties like the ID page and branded profiles, are you only using Web 2 links from mgyb, or using other link types like social signals, PBNs? Well, I'm pretty sure I just answered that one. It's a great follow-up question, but yeah, no, I mean, I do all of the above. Yes, I'm still buying Web 2 links because and then I've talked about this before as well, but I like to build my tier 1 links on assets that I control. Okay, so Web 2s are great for that because I can create Web 2 content, like, or Web 2 profiles, and I just hire that out, right? I buy them, like, again, I've been buying, I still buy, GMB, SEO shields. I still buy those, there's no question, because those are like our primary tier 1 entity assets. But I also buy additional Web 2s built. And again, I've been buying up several things from Legit recently. I've been testing different providers for Web 2, little mini networks, mini nets and things like that. And by the way, guys, it's hit or miss. Once you find a good provider on Legit, keep using them, because I found that, it's a crapshoot every time. But sometimes you get good providers, sometimes they suck, and it is what it is. Anyway, Web 2s, I like to use them because I like to have the accounts produced or created by someone else. And then once I get them back, then I like to go in and just hand select a few that I'm going to go in and have, really fine tune the content. And when I say fine tune, I mean like treat the content on the Web 2s as if it was money site content, right? So tune it using SEO or entity tuning tools, which we have I have a blogger that does all that stuff for me. So I'll send her a message like, hey, I need some tier 1 entity content for a particular project. Here's 3 different article topics, produce, well-tuned content for these, something that could rank on its own, right? And then I publish that content on the Web 2s because I have control over those. I can control, in most cases, I can control the number of links on the page, right? That's the difference between, guys, think about this. Like, we had this discussion in our mastermind, but citations, for example, there are certain citations out there, business directories that will produce do follow links or follow links, but, call them do follow because most people understand that. But, and so people say, well, would you build a bunch of links to power up your citations? Yes, but the problem with building like PBN links to citations is what happens on business directory sites, guys. Even if you can get a follow link from it, there are a ton of internal links on that page that go to all other pages and other listings and everything else on the citation of the directory site page, right, for your business listing. And so if you're going to power that up, you just understand that you're going to be splitting that link equity to whatever your link is, your target URL is on that page, but also the site itself, the directory site's going to benefit because a lot of its internal pages are going to get powered up because you're building links to that page with a ton of internal links on it. Does that make sense? So that's why I like, or even guest posts for that matter. Like guest posts, a lot of people still use guest posts as tier 1 links. And I understand the reason to do that. But the problem with that is a lot of times, first of all, you'll buy a guest post that gets published on an orphaned page, which means it's not going to benefit from any of the domain metrics because there's no internal links anywhere else on the domain pointing to that guest post page, which sucks because that's bullshit and people are stealing your money when they do that. And I've had thousands of dollars stolen from me when I was testing a bunch of different guest post link services, where that's what they would do. They would sell you on metrics for a particular, domain metrics to get a guest post on that domain. Then you pay $200, $300, whatever it is to get the link, to get the article placed with your link. And then come to find out once it's published, it's an orphan page, which means they'll sold you on metrics, but they didn't point any page on the site to that published guest post. So you don't benefit from any of the metrics on the domain. You might as well have set up a free Web 2 account, published a well-tuned article on it where you control all of the links and then just power that up with the same money. So again, like instead of spending $300 on a guest post link that's going to be poorly placed, spend $300 on well-tuned content on a free Web 2.0, and then whatever money you have left in your budget from that $300, buy links to that Web 2, right? Power up the Web 2 with PBN links, for example, from Legit or from wherever you can get good PBN links. Does that make sense? So my point is I like to use Web 2s as tier 1 links because I can place them, I can control the content, and I can control the links on the page. And then I like to power up those assets with, like I just mentioned, higher powered PBNs to start because I get quicker results. And once I get the desired result, then I like to do tiered link building, bulk links, spam links to continue to maintain those rankings, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying with that. Social signals and alone, I don't think are, in my opinion, they're worthless. It's been a few years since I've done an actual test on that, but I did several years ago a pretty in-depth test on social signals. I tried a bunch of different providers. Social signals, I think, work for sure in SEO if it's real activity on the social posts. Does that make sense? So like, in other words, like a like for a page, I don't think has any value, like on a website page. A share, like a Facebook share of the page, has maybe a little bit of value, but I don't think it has any value unless that share gets engagement. Does that make sense? And it's really hard to spam that, to spoof that. So again, I stopped worrying about social signals as an SEO tactic a while ago, like years ago, because I found that like, unless you are getting real engagement on social shares of the target URL that you're trying to, improve the SEO for, then it really doesn't have much of an effect. At least that's been my experience. And it was several years ago. Like I said, I haven't tested anything significantly in recent years because I proved a few years ago that really wasn't valuable at all to just buy social signals is what I'm saying. Social shares and an engagement on those shares, that does have an effect, but it's hard to do that. I know there are some services out there that claim that they do it, but it's kind of hard to do that. If you have a page that gets picked up in some social post somewhere that goes viral and it gets a lot of engagement, you will absolutely see a boost from that. So the trick though is for us as SEOs, right? We're known to exploit stuff as to how do you mimic that, right? How do you mimic the kind of something going viral with social signals? And it's hard to do. Okay. Padre says, do you have any affiliate codes for SEO plugins? I remember you used to have something with SEO Ultimate. Gracias. Yeah, Padre, I would suggest right now to check out the Zagio replay that I just talked about. SEO Ultimate Pro, that is a great plugin. I've used it for the last couple of years. More recently, like I said, over the last couple of months in August, I picked up Zagio and I started testing with that on a few different sites. And now I've started moving most of my organic sites, most of my WordPress sites, in swapping out my SEO plugin with Zagio because I don't want it to conflict. And Zagio has a lot of other functionality in it that I like. So I would recommend you check that out. It's very inexpensive. It's a great tool. It covers a lot of the It's got a lot of stuff built into it, which means you can actually reduce subscriptions and monthly expenses for a lot of other stuff. So just check it out. Just check out the replay. You'll see what I mean. That's what I would recommend right now. SEO Ultimate Pro is a great plugin, Jeffrey Smith. It's a great plugin, but like I said, there's some additional functionality into Zagio that I like, that has kind of pushed me over the edge, so to speak, in that I've started moving a lot of my sites into that platform. Okay. Ruggs, what's up, man? He says, for syndicating or distributing shorter social media posts, including GMB, social, and blog sites, since they don't reflect money site blog content, should I have them link back to the GMB CID map URL? Right now, most distributed posts are linking back to the individual Facebook post, since the automation was easier from there. But I think I should backlink to GMB instead. This can't be over optimized since it's Google, right? Yeah, I mean, I've never had any problems with that. I mean, again, we've tested with straight spam links and everything to Google. I try to keep, I've been real transparent about this in the last couple of months. I stopped spamming the GMB website and the map URL. Like I try to treat the GMB website and the map URL, the CID map URL, like they're money sites now, in that I'm very strategic about my link building to them now. But yeah, I mean, over the last few years, we've tested like straight up kitchen sink spam, hundreds of thousands of links to GMB assets, to the gsite, for example, the GMB website, things like that. We've been able to get results. Although, like I said, I prefer not to do that now. I prefer, if I'm going to be doing spamming, it's going to be to the tier 1 assets. And I know technically a GMB website and a GMB map, so the CID map URL, are technically tier 1 assets, but I treat all three of those, a location landing page or self-hosted money site, the GMB website, and the CID map URL, those three as money sites now. So I try to treat all three of them the same in how I build links to them. Then I'll do the more aggressive link building to the other tier 1 assets, which would be everything else. ID page, press advantage organization page, syndication network properties, additional branded web 2s that you build out, Facebook, any of the social media properties, all of that. So with all that said, yeah, I mean, you absolutely can, if you've got automation set up, but you can have the attribution link or the link back to the source point to wherever you want. The Google Maps or CID map would work. Guys, remember also though, and I've talked about this kind of recently too, guys, the only people that build links to the CID map URL are SEOs. And the only reason that you do that is to push link equity into the map. It makes sense to also build links to the map share URL, right? And to the Google My Business posts or GMB post share URLs. You can't push link equity through the share URLs because it goes through multiple 302 redirects. But if you want a natural looking link profile, you should also build some links to the share URLs, because bloggers and anybody else, a civilian, right, a layperson, somebody that is not an SEO, anytime they would ever share a GMB post or a GMB map, they're going to share using the share URL. So if you want a natural looking link profile, make sure that you are building at least the occasional set of links to the share URLs. And if you're doing any sort of engagement signal manipulation, like click-through spam or click-through rate manipulation, whether you're using tools or you're buying Google ads for that, which we've discussed many times as well, make sure you're running traffic to the share URLs, because that's where Google expects to see engagement activity. Clicks, right, is on the share URLs, not the CID map URL. Nobody links to that except for SEOs. And there's a reason we link to it. It's to push link equity into the map. So it makes perfect sense to build links to the CID map URL. But if you want a natural looking link profile, and if you're going to be doing CT spam, click-through rate manipulation, you want to be using the share URLs, because that's where Google expects to see activity, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing both of those. So to answer your question, Ruggs, yeah, what I would recommend that you do is cycle out your source URLs, whatever it's going to link back to from your automations. Cycle them out, like, okay, go for a few weeks, depending on the volume of publishing that you're doing, frequency of publishing or the volume, whatever. If you're doing a lot of posting, you might want to, swap out the links to your sources every few weeks. But if you're only doing a handful of posts per month, maybe once a month, go in and swap it out. So for this month, your source URL becomes your CID map. Maybe next month, the map share URL. Maybe next month, GMB website. Does that make sense? That way you're over time, you build kind of a more natural looking link profile. That's a great question as well, by the way. Tony says, last week I asked about a replay for the Spilling the Beans webinar I missed. It was held a couple of weeks ago. Is it available anywhere? Yeah, we do have a replay. I don't think we were going to do a replay for that because we're going to do another one, Tony. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think we could do that. I'll reply below, Tony, with the replay to that. So yeah, just check on this page here in a few minutes, and under in the comments section, I'll have a reply when we close it down with the link over to that replay. Which it's basically just I talked about a very specific strategy for GMB post silos. So yeah, I think I'll link to that so you can have that. I think that's something that you should have, guys, if you're interested. Aaron says, guys, I'm locked in and loaded in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. Thanks. You're welcome, Aaron. Can't wait to have a chat with you and see what we can do to help you grow your business. Okay, looks like we're down to the last or couple questions. Vance says, hey, Gents, have you used Solo Ads? What are your thoughts? Thank you. You know, it's been probably 5 or 6 years since I've tried to use Solo Ads. I had shitty results. Chris, I know you've had some experience with Solo Ads. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it depends, obviously, like how much the list is mailed to, right? And how much your offer is matching that list. And the reality is usually Solo Ads is such a in-circle promotion, if you want to call that in a nice way. So everybody's just promoting each other, and usually the lists are almost spammed out, if you want to call it that way. So in my opinion, what I would do instead is run YouTube advertisements, Google advertisements, maybe Facebook advertisements, or, well, depending on where your target audience is, run advertisements there instead of Solo Ads.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I found was, I guess if you find a really good Solo Ads provider with clean lists and the relevant audience and that sort of stuff, then they could work. I'm sure they would work, but I've not really ever had much success. And I only tested probably, 10 or 12 times seriously before I said that's not a good strategy for me because I spent a lot of money with not a lot of results. So I don't.
Yeah, the other thing you can try is, like, obviously reach out to people who have similar products or products in your niche and do partnerships like GV deals or just cross promotions, right? So like you're mailing their offer, they're mailing your offer, and everybody grows this list.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Chris. So Chris 87, this is a great question too. I just read through this a moment ago. He says, hey guys, hope you're all well. I purchased a few shields with ID page and Google Drive docs as well. Yeah, that's all part of the shield typically, as well as a medium backlink package. These were delivered about 6 weeks ago and I haven't seen any movement yet. These are on local niches, 200,000 population for tree services. Hey, Chris, that's unacceptable. That's my industry. No, I'm kidding, guys. It's such a big country. There are so many freaking, I joke about that because that's my industry, but there was plenty of room in there for other SEOs. So, man, Chris, you ought to come join the mastermind because, everything I teach about is about tree service SEO because that's all I do anymore. So, anyways, back to the question, 200,000 population for tree services and the competition is weak. What would you recommend I do from here going forward to get some improvements in page and GMB rankings? Well, this is a great question, Chris. And see, that's what I was getting at earlier with my long-winded answer about link building, because yeah, you bought a medium link building package and that's great. But the problem, and it's not a problem, you just have to be aware of it. You have to understand this. Spam links, bought links, they take weeks and weeks and weeks, even with the tiered link packages to get crawled. And most of them aren't going to index anyways. But the important thing is to get them crawled. And they take a long time to get them crawled because they're spammy links or low quality links. Again, it makes sense to do that, guys, and they can be incredibly powerful, but you have to keep link building and you have to be patient if you're going to be using just bulk links to power up your assets, your tier 1 assets or tier 2 assets, never to your money site though, right? Don't ever buy bulk spam links to your money site. Some people that really know how to use the tools may be able to get away with that, but I would never recommend it and I would never do it myself. But that's why I'm saying with the links, you know, if you're going to be buying bulk links, you need to keep buying bulk link packages, because a lot of those links are going to be deleted because those types of Web 2 properties that they get published on typically get terminated sometimes, you know, like there's a high turnover rate of you know, new accounts versus old accounts, because old accounts get terminated, so new ones have. So my point is, there's a lot of link loss that occurs from the bulk link packages, unless you're compounding them constantly by you know, building links upon links upon links, if that makes sense. So I prefer to get more quicker results to go with, especially with when I'm trying to achieve my desired result initially, and that's to rank right within the 3-pack or whatever. I like to use higher powered links now because I get a faster result. And once I get the desired result, then you can switch to kind of maintaining rankings by continually powering up your tier 1 assets with bulk links. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense. And so Chris, yeah, thanks guys, posting on the legit link. There's a lot. Just start searching for links, right, on legit, and just start testing. I'm not going to give away my providers just yet because I'm still testing through some of them, but I certainly will. I'm happy to share my link providers on legit that I like when I've really settled on a few that I'm going to continually use. I've been testing a lot over the last couple of months, so I don't have any that I want to share just yet, but I'm happy to do that when I have a good provider. Okay. But that's what I'm saying. Like, those, in my opinion, are a better way to go, because with the PBN type links, you're going to get a quicker result. And Chris, again, that's all I do is tree service stuff anymore. And I've been getting really, really good results. Check out the GMB process if you have not gone through that yet, Chris. It's free. You can get it at gmbprocess.com. All you have to do is opt in, and it's 100% free. And if you follow that format, that checklist, complete the first 3 modules, which, you know, that's the GMB profile, optimize that 100%, which I'm sure you've probably already done. Although there's probably some things in the checklist that you'll find that maybe have not been done. Then you want to create the tier 1 entity assets. I've got a very specific format that I use, which is outlined specifically in the GMB process checklist. And then from there, module 3 is about GMB post silos. And I do 3 push silos right off the bat. 1 to the GMB website, 1 to the location landing page if it has a self-hosted money site, and then 1 to the CID map URL. And then it's all about link building, tier 2 link building to the post silos and to all the tier 1 entity assets that you set up in module 2, right? So it's about, seriously, it's about just kind of going through that checklist and working your way through it. And you don't have to go, like, when it talks about tier 1 link building and tier 2 link building, which is modules 4 and 5, I specifically talk about you don't have to go through all of those and complete every single step there, especially if you're in a lower competition or a medium competition area. You don't need to complete everything in modules 4 and 5, because what happens is, as you complete tier 1 link building assets, when tier 1, as you place tier 1 links, you start powering those up immediately with the tier 2 linking strategy that is outlined in the process checklist, and you'll start to see significant maps movement then. And so a lot of the times I'll end up with only having completed like maybe 3 or 4 of the tier 1 link building placements that I describe in the checklist, because I'm powering those up with tier 2 links, and they'll start to create considerable movement in maps. And typically in low to medium competition, I will end up in the 3-pack before I get through all of the tier 1 link assets, if that makes sense. So it leaves me stuff in reserve that I'll have available to maintain rankings or to boost again if I start to slip. So again, I would recommend you go check that out. gmbprocess.com. Again, gmbprocess.com. Opt in. It's 100% free. And if you have additional questions about that, you can always ask here at Hump Day Hangouts, or you can come join the mastermind where I give away all the training for every one of those steps, which in fact, I'm actually working on the process standard operating procedures. So creating processes for each one of those steps in the process doc, and mastermind members will get that. So I would encourage you to do that as well. But yeah, so just one last time, just to reiterate this, guys, bulk links will work, but you have to, it's one, buying one link building package isn't going to do it, right? You typically are going to need to have, 2 or 3 of them, maybe spaced out a few weeks apart or a month apart, whatever. in between each new gig, but be patient because you're not going to see results from bulk links for weeks upon weeks. And that's just the way that it is because it takes forever for them to be crawled. With PBN links, typically, if you're buying from a good provider and they're good links, those links are going to get crawled a hell of a lot quicker, and you don't need near as many of them either. So you're going to see improvements from those links, provided everything else, all your on page is done correctly. You should start seeing significant movement from the links if you're doing it correctly. So go back and review what I talked about earlier for tier 2 links as well, which is also outlined in the GMB process checklist, right? Again, use Search Console data. That gives you the best anchor text that I have found. It works. It makes it easy too, because it takes the guesswork out of it, right? So check it out. Whoops, I don't know what I just did. Back up and see what happens. Okay, I think we're done with questions, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for your answer and help. Yeah, Tony, I'll reply back here in just a minute. I'll mention you and drop the link to that replay. And Aaron, yeah, the link for legit is LEGIIT. Again, guys, I'll share my, the providers that I have vetted when I have some more, when I have a few more. I found I found one really good one, but I'm not ready to share that one yet. But I'm still testing others. I just bought some Web 2s. Because I just mentioned that I like using Web 2s because as tier 1 because I can control them. I can control the content, the number of links on the page, everything else. And I've got some guy that I just bought some from that just royally screwed up a fairly simple gig. So, again, you just got to test with these guys. And once you find one, hold on to them. You know what I mean? All right. I think we can wrap up early.
Sounds good to me.
Out, Chris.
Sure.
All right, everybody.